Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the Committee on Agriculture and Food Systems to order. This is our Wednesday, February 11th hearing. It's 9:30 a.m. and we are in conference room 325 at the state capitol. Just gonna go over some housekeeping before we get started. So because morning hearings must adjourn prior to floor session, not all testifiers may have the opportunity to testify. In that event, please know that your written testimony will be considered by the committee. In order to allow as many people to testify as possible, there will be a 2-minute time limit per testifier. For those on Zoom, please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify and after your testimony is complete. The Zoom chat function will allow you to chat with the technical staff only. Please use the chat only for technical issues. If you are disconnected unexpectedly, you may attempt to rejoin the meeting. If disconnected while presenting testimony, you may be allowed to continue if time permits. Please note the House is not responsible for any bad internet connections on the testifier's end. In the event of a network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Please avoid using any trademark or copyrighted images if you're using a Zoom background. Please refrain from profanity or uncivil behavior. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from the hearing without the ability to rejoin. Finally, we have a new microphone system in the House conference rooms. The microphones are now on the ceiling, so please be aware that any side conversations may be picked up. With that, we can head on into our agenda. So first up, we have House Bill 1602 relating to agriculture. Appropriates funds to establish one full-time equivalent grant specialist position within the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity. First up to testify, we have the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Cedric Gates here on behalf of DAB. DAB stands in strong support of this measure. We appreciate the author, and we have our subject matter expert in the room if you have any questions. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next we have Munekata, Lupano Initiative.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Micah Munikata here on behalf of the Lupone Initiative. I will stand on our testimony in strong support of this measure. I think, we've come before this body multiple times over the last 3 years or so, just emphasizing the need for us to go after federal funds. We can't keep putting the pressure on the state to figure out how best to fund us at the end of the day. Agriculture always needs funding, so really having a body and a resource that can really go after those federal monies that are out there that Hawaii historically hasn't gone after is really important. We have a body currently within the Department of Ag that has been doing exemplary work since about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, privately funded. Last session, you guys funded her, general funded this current fiscal year and federal funded in the next. Unfortunately, we can't have her federal funded next fiscal year, so we're really looking for general funds at $100,000 for her. That's the position. Just to give some context here, in this current and federal administration where there's a lot of uncertainty around what's really available for Hawaii to go after and a lot of cuts that's gone through with a lot of federal programs, our particular grant writing specialist in the Department of Ag was able to secure $9 million in a year like this. So that's 90 times return on investment, just right there. And this is in a tough year. You know, historically, some of the private sector has shown that it can bring in somewhere around the lines of above 100 times return on investment when it comes to grant writing and getting awards for Hawaii's agriculturalists. So we really do appreciate this bill. We think that, Leslie over here, she's done great work. She's already identified $54 million additionally to go after here in the next year. So again, it's great to have this resource. It is prudent, responsible with state funds, and we hope that you can support this moving forward. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Next we have Lauren Zerbo, Hawaii Food Industry Association on Zoom.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I'm Alexis Chapman for HFIA. We stand on our testimony and support. Just to reiterate one of the points Micah made, there is tremendous return on investment for this position, and it really benefits our entire food system. So we support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Next we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. You have a written testimony in support. This is a Farm Bureau priority, has been a priority of ours for the past several years. I won't repeat the great testimony from that Ulupono guy, but I will repeat ROI. You heard HFIA say it also. This should be a no-brainer. This is new money. This is money from outside the state that goes to help our state's farmers and ranchers and ag community. We have someone in the position now, as you heard Mr. Munakata talk about. If we don't fund this position, and we talk about assurances in agriculture all the time. If we don't fund this position, and if we don't give this person assurance that they can continue to be funded, there's a potential we could lose this individual. And it goes somewhere else, maybe to another state department, maybe to private, maybe to leave Hawaii in totality. That would be a terrible loss for Hawaii and for the ag sector. We encourage strong support of this measly or very small funding for the huge ROI that we have been seeing and anticipate continue seeing from this position. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next we have Myung Oh, Local Food Coalition.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Myung-oh here on behalf of the Local Food Coalition in strong support. As the prior testifiers have echoed, we reiterate the same return on investment. I think that the current specialist creates this continuity and institutional knowledge as the years go by. So we would appreciate the state support and funding this position permanently. Thank you.
That's all I have. We registered to testify in person or on Zoom. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in this measure?
Thank you, Chair. Hunter Hempelin on behalf of Hawaii Farmers Union. We also stand in strong support of this measure. I'll be submitting our belated written comments shortly, but we'd like to reiterate, what has already been said in this room, but add it that additionally, in my own personal experience, Leslie has been not just an advocate for pursuing additional funding, but a proactive participant in a number of conversations across the agricultural sector, not just understanding what the federal funding capacities are, but being present in many of the discussions to better understand what the local needs are, which I think is, not since there was a previous person at the marketing branch, had I personally witnessed the volume of proactive activity within the agricultural sector as a mechanism for bridging resources. So it cannot be understated the value that she brings to the department and the potential that she brings to the state. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Anyone on Zoom? Seeing none, members, any questions?
I have one, Chair.
Yep.
For Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Sharon Hurd, Department of Agriculture Chair.
Thank you.
Security.
It's a lot. Question, in the request, is it's civil service exempt, this position, correct? I didn't,
May I elaborate on that?
please.
It is civil service permanent, but because the funding was so iffy, the AG's office determined that exempt is a more appropriate title until it becomes fully funded by general funds. So currently it's civil service exempt. Our intent was to be civil service general funded.
Okay, so that would include scheduled bargaining raises and stuff like that.
Yes,
Merit,
yes,
et cetera. Okay, going forward, if it's funded, that it has a continuity, it doesn't flatline.
Yes,
Good, thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the next measure. Next up, we have House Bill 2246, relating to agricultural grant administration, creates an agricultural grant program and revolving fund for the purposes of grant application, execution, reporting, and auditing to be administered by the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity effective July 1, 2026. First up, we have Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Once again, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand on our written submitted testimony. However, I would like to add a section to the bill, and we'll make this change in the future. The section I'd like to add is one that I've omitted, and it's the appropriation clause. The section would be, there is appropriated out of the agricultural grant revolving fund, the sum of blank, or so much thereof as may be necessary for fiscal year 26-27 for the agricultural grant program. Also adding, the sum appropriated shall be expended by the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity for the purposes of this act. I'm going to add to this testimony by saying that already we've mentioned the return on investment. Leslie has been able to be awarded her grant, the grant that she submitted was funded at 8.89 million. The current NICRA, the negotiated indirect cost rate agreement, is 12.5%. That puts about $1 million into the general fund. What this bill would do would be to take a percentage of that, insert it into the fund so that she can use that, we can use that, the state can use that for a continual research. This particular grant that she has involves collaboration with all the industry groups. It would allow her to do that with the funds that are in this grant to then increase the amount of funding we can get. 8.89 million, by the way, is identified as the largest amount that the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity has ever received for a federal grant in one lump sum. So she's doing great work. She needs this fund. We need this fund to put money in so that we can have access to administrative duties, travel even, and on behalf of seeking more funding. Thank you.
So we have Nicole Galassi, Wade Cattlemen's Council on Zoom.
Thank you, Chair Chun, Vice Chair Kush, members of the committee. My name is Nicole Galassi. I'm testifying on behalf of the Hawaii Cattlemen's Council. We're in support of this bill because federal grants are cumbersome, but this program will help more Hawaii producers get access to these funds when the department administers them. This small investment can help us get access to much more in federal funds rather than leaving them on the table or unused to go to other states. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
Next we have Myung Oh, Local Food Coalition.
Thank you, Chair. We stand on our written testimony in support.
Next we have Hunter Hevlin, Hawaii Farmers Union.
Thank you, Chair, we'll stand on our written testimony in support.
Thank you very much. That's all I have who registered to testify in person or on Zoom. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing, this might be one question, not really a question, request. Is there a way I could get that amendment you requested for the appropriation language?
Say that again?
For the appropriation language, that section you requested, is there a way I could get that in writing?
Is there a way to get it amended? Yes. Working with the AG's office right now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, seeing no further questions, let's move on to the next measure. Next up, we have House Bill 1707 relating to agriculture. Establishes a local agriculture transportation cost reimbursement program within the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity to reimburse eligible ranchers and farmers a portion of their costs to transport livestock products, agricultural commodities, and certain supplies under certain conditions. Establishes a position to administer the program and appropriates funds. First up we have to testify is Nicole Galassi, Hawaii Cattlemen's Council on Zoom.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Nicole Galassi on behalf of the Hawaii Cattlemen's Council. We support this bill. The state has a goal to increase local food production, and transportation is a necessary part of that. This reimbursement program for transportation of local agriculture will help producers with these high costs, especially when Young Brothers Inter-Island state rates continue to rise steeply each time an increase takes place. We would appreciate the state's assistance with these costs as a way to support local food production. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next we have David Veltri, Young Brothers.
Hi, David Veltri appearing on behalf of Young Brothers. I'm Associate General Counsel there. I'm sorry, Chris Nakagawa, who wrote the testimony, couldn't be here today, but we stand in strong support of this measure and we're available for any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Next we have Lauren Zerbel, Hawaii Food Industry Association.
Good morning again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Alexis Chapman for HFIA. We stand on our testimony in support of this measure, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on our written testimony supporting another Hawaii Farm Bureau legislative priorities bills. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Myung Ho, Local Food Coalition.
Thank you, Chair. The Local Food Coalition stand on its written testimony in support of Farm Bureau's bill.
Thank you. All right, that's all I have. We registered to testify in person or online. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Hunter Hevelin, still on behalf of Hawaii Farmers Union. We're in strong support of this measure. We had advocated over the past few years for a comparable program that would have provided support not just for producers, but also for food hubs and to a limited extent broadline distributors. The costs of food transportation are incurred by many across the agricultural system, and while we do support the measure as written, especially appreciating that it does not reproduce the very cumbersome USDA language of reimbursement transportation cost payment, we would also at least like the body to consider the addition of entities that focus specifically in local food, that being food hubs across the islands. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Cedric Gates here on behalf of DAB. I believe we submitted testimony on HB 1707 in support. If you don't have it, we will forward it over to make sure your committee can read it. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions?
I don't know, Chair. I'm not sure if this would be Department of Agriculture or maybe Young Brothers, but does anybody have kind of a ballpark idea what this might be an annual cost?
I can tell you that the federal program, they have a bucket of money and then they percentage it out. Each farmer gets about, maybe Nicole has a better idea of that, but anywhere between $17,000 and $2,000 a year. That's a ballpark. The total cost of it, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
8 to 12. 8 to 12.
8 to 12,000
Yes.
total is the cap. So everybody can get as much as 8 to 12 cap, but percentage wise, they don't get that much.
I think it varies on your operations.
Yeah. So it's a simple reimbursement program in that when the feds do it, they just ask the farmers to keep their receipts. From what I understand, a shoebox is fine. You keep all your receipts that are transportation related and input related, and then they take 10% of that, and that they feel is the total percentage of transportation involved in the process of producing food. So our program would be similar. There would be a cap, like you give like making this up, $500,000, and then farmers would then take 10% of their inter-island costs and then submit it, and then we would take percentages and divide it up.
Okay, so it's only restricted to inter-island transport, or does it also include trucking to ports or,
Inter-island and intra-island, and the reason for that is you might be competing and double dipping with the federal program. I'm gonna ask for is that right? Intra-island, inter-island versus from the mainland to from, we shouldn't. That's right.
It's 10 of it.
The mainland, the federal transportation cost reimbursement program on the federal level is to defray the cost of moving from the mainland to the states, geographically disadvantaged states. And so we would capture the cost into.
Within the state.
Yeah.
Got it, okay,
Okay.
thank you for that clarification, appreciate it. It is. Oh,
You
sorry,
want Young Brothers to chime in? You said, I can just add a couple of things. One,
please.
from the way this bill is, should I go up here? Sorry. Okay. From the way the bill is drafted, it looks like the subsidy or the reimbursement that's being proposed in this bill would be more than just water carrier transportation, it would be other modes of transportation as well, such as motor carriers. So I can't speak to those. With respect to Young Brothers, what we track is local agriculture, and now it's about 3.1% of our total revenues in 2024. That's the most relevant figure I can offer at this time. And our total revenue in 2024 was 177 million. So
about 5.1?
I'm not that good at math. I can do that in my head right now, but that's what I was able to pull up right now.
Little more.
Yeah.
5.5, okay, thank
And
you.
things have changed a lot since 2024 as well, just
Oh,
knowing
yeah.
that as well. But that's the best I can offer at the moment, but if I have something more, I'm happy to follow up with you folks.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a question for Farm Bureau. Are you gonna add something to that?
Thank you, Chair. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. I think Chair Hurd did clarify it is, as Young Brothers did, it is for transportation within the state, inter-island, intra-island, so ground, ocean, and air. And costs, again, because we don't have all those costs, it's going to vary between, based on your farming, your production, and where your markets are. But with a $25,000 cap, and that's not including the food hubs and the aggregators, but just on the farmers, what do we have, 6,500 farms now?
6,500.
6,500? 170 million or so?
Okay,
So, I mean, that would be the high end, again, it wouldn't be that high, but again, there are caps here. And it's I think 25% or $25,000, whichever is lesser of the two. So again, it would vary depending on what type of operation it is, and if you are just your markets in your community or your markets are between islands, so could vary quite a bit. And we could try to calculate some of those numbers, Vice Chair, but again, I don't think anybody has those exact numbers right now.
I think the next committee will be interested.
Yes.
Okay. I have a question about, so I wanna tighten this up because I really don't wanna see this get abused. So for the startup and small scale farmers, for demonstrating commercial intent, is there a way they could prove commercial intent? So that they're actually, this is on page 3, lines 12.
Thank you, Chair. Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau, lines 11 and 12, when it's a new farmer or a small farmer demonstrating commercial intent, basically showing proof. I think there's several things that could be considered. There is a requirement when you're transporting commodities of, I believe it is $100 or 200 pounds, a bill of lading, an invoice, some type of proof of sale. That is actually a requirement already through the quality assurance division. GET could be one here in Honolulu, Board of Water Supply, water rates, or even the counties have the property tax dedication, some type of proof that you are in actual farming, maybe a conservation or farm plan, even Schedule F. I think there are different documents that can prove that you are farming. We agree with you, we don't want this abused. We don't want people using or getting this subsidy when they shouldn't be. Ag policy should be ag policy. So again, equip the state or the department with the tools necessary to verify. But this speaks, so I don't know if we covered it here, but the registration program that's been discussed for farmers and ranchers. But again, I think there are possibilities or opportunities that bona fide farmers will have, which will verify that they are farming. Some of like the Schedule F, for a new farmer, they may not even have one yet because they're not making any money yet, but I think there are different options that the legislature can put into the bill that can help verify the bona fide farming nature of those operations.
Thanks. questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the next measure. Next up, we have House Bill 2216 relating to agricultural loans. Authorizes the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity to package and sell a portion of its agricultural loan portfolio to permitted third parties. Appropriates funds out of the agricultural loan revolving fund to increase its expenditure ceiling. First up, we have Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Thank you, Chair. DAB stands on its written testimony in strong support of this measure. Here for any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
That's all I have. We registered to testify in person or online on this measure. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the next measure. Next up, we have House Bill 2594 relating to agriculture. Directs the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity to conduct a study on insurance coverage for small agricultural producers. Requires a report to the legislature, appropriates funds. First up, we have to testify Hawaii Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Aloha, Chair. DAB stands on its written testimony in strong support of this measure. We're here for any questions. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next, we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
Right, thank you. Next, we have Hunter Havlin, Hawaii Farmers Union.
Hawaii Farmers Union stands on its testimony and support.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have to register to testify in person or online. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, I'm gonna ask Dab. I'm gonna ask a question for Dab really quick. I just want to follow up on your testimony that you may need more time to do the report. Do you have a recommendation on how much longer you would need, just because if January 1, 2027 might be too short to be able to get all the information you need?
2 years perhaps, and we would be working with the historical records that the Farm Bureau had. Farm Bureau used to offer insurance, and so with that, I'm gonna say 2 years.
So maybe January 1, 2028.
Now, we might be done, we might be done, it's just the definitions and the non-compete with the private industry, that sort of thing might be difficult to do in 1 year.
Alright.
Okay,
Alright,
thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the next measure. Next up, we have House Bill 2595 relating to regional agriculture and food production. Establishes the Regional Agricultural Feasibility and Food Systems Production Studies Working Group within the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity to provide coordinated region-specific agricultural production and crop feasibility analysis across the state. Requires reports to the legislature, appropriates funds, repeals June 30th, 2028. First up to testify, we have Hawaii Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Thank you, Chair. DAB stands on its written testimony in strong support of this measure. Here for any questions. Mahalo.
Next, we have Phyllis Shimabukuro Geyser, University of Hawaii.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, CTAR stands on its written testimony on comments. Available for questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. HEFBA will stand on its written testimony in support. Apparently, we're using abbreviations.
Next up is Hunter Havlin, Hawaii Farmers Union.
I'll save our abbreviation when appropriate. Hunter Havlin on behalf of Hawaii Farmers Union. We'll send out a written testimony in support. However, would add I think an important maybe historical valence to this. As written, this really seems to operate off the belief that state government can alone and maybe even primarily address the majority of these issues. Looking historically at programs like the Territorial Market Program in the early 1900s, the Hawaii Produce Market in the mid-1940s, the Produce Information Exchange in the 1950s, and so forth, what these efforts, when they were successful, did is brought together industry in both production and demand and government to try and solve these issues. And while it does say that this body may consult with the private sector, I think maybe making that a little bit more of a requirement would be advisable. We currently have a whole slew of assessments and working groups and so forth, and having those in seats of decision-making power within state government is critical, but meaningful and broad participation and engagement from the private sector, both from the production side and the demand side, is key. So, thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next we have Sherry Manor, Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Julian Kiabo on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce Hawaii, and we extend in support on our written testimony.
Thank you. That's all I have. We registered to testify in person or on Zoom. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Oh, go ahead, Vice Chair.
For Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Sir.
Thinking of this in unwieldy sized committees and working groups, did you have a number of participants in mind for a working group like this, or?
Based on what Hunter just said, it's probably gonna grow. Industry is not well represented in the groups of to answer your question, 10 is a good number. 11 is better, odd numbers are better. That would be good.
And with that many people, do you feel like a relatively quick progress can be made? Because if this passed in July, that would give you 5 months.
We'll do our best. I think with the number of milestones, I think we can go through that, not making it broad like some of the working groups have been bewildered because of the nebulousness of the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, lack of definition.
Just
Okay,
give milestones.
that's good, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the next measure. Next up, we have House Bill 2155 relating to agricultural statistics. Requires the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity to revitalize and enhance the agricultural statistics program to collect data on local agricultural interests. Appropriates funds. First up to testify, we have Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Good morning again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. The department stands in strong support of this bill. We were part of the downsizing that affected the entire state in 2008. The entire statistics branch was abolished, and the farmers found themselves to be, and we did as well, planting decisions, what's coming in, what's moving between islands. If eggs are moving from Honolulu to Maui, then the Maui farmers would start having eggs. I mean, those kinds of data-driven decisions was missing. I think bringing this back would help the state grow double food production in a very data-driven, science need base. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next we have Phyllis Shimabukuro Geyser, University of Hawaii.
Aloha, CTAR stands on its written testimony offering comments.
Thank you. Next we have Brian Mimoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
Thank you. And next we have Hunter Hevlin, Hawaii Farmers Union.
Thank you, Chair. While rows of crops are important to agriculture, rows of data have a similar importance, and the absence of clear understanding of our agricultural sector has long hobbled development of our industries here. It cannot be overstated the impact of producers not having clear understanding of market price, of demand, of local transportation volumes, which we've collected consistently for decades. It is easier for me to tell you what we produced and how it moved 70 years ago than 7. This is a critical piece of having a robust agricultural sector, and one that, as the bill highlights, is currently being eroded at the federal level, which we have in the since 2008 and 9 cuts long relied on and turned to at our own cost. So in housing a lot of this work, and for myself to have fellow spreadsheet livers at the Department of Agriculture, I think the manifold benefits that can come from this should not be understated. Thanks.
Thank you. That's all I have. We wish sure to testify in person or on Zoom. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, let's move
Oh,
on.
I have one.
Alan? Okay.
I'm shy. Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity again, sorry. We'll just slide down a little closer next time. How many positions were you looking at? And did you have any ideas or thoughts on a global cost on the statistics program to revitalize it?
The technology today, I think we can do a lot better. It used to be, people time taking notes. 2 people would be good. I think the bill asks for 2. And the cost, the technology might be expensive, so I would say not with personnel, maybe to buy the program would be about $500,000 to purchase the software. We can do it the old-fashioned way, and tap into the current system, but I think if we want to really get into the AI basis, just tap into everything we can. I think I'm gonna estimate 500 highly. What would you say?
So like 800 start and 400 ongoing,
That's very fair.
something like that?
Yeah, but the data, as Hunter said, very well said, the data is so precious,
And anybody who does grants may like that.
Yeah, let's see, there's a grant for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the next measure. Next up, we have House Bill 2113 relating to natural resources. Appropriates funds for the removal of vegetation from the Kainahola stream. I have one registered testifier, that's Wed Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Thank you, Chair. The department stands on its written comments. I just want to clarify that the reason why we offer these comments is because the property is in DOT's jurisdiction, and we ask that that is added into the bill. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the next measure. Next up, we have House Bill 2207 relating to invasive species. Requires the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity to establish rules allowing the sale and distribution of fine mesh nets, including monofilament netting in the state to protect plants from the coconut rhinoceros beetle. First up to testify, we have Patrick Chi, DLNR.
Good morning, Chair. Rob Hoff, DLNR. We stand on our testimony and support the measure. Thank you.
Next, we have Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Thank you, Chair. DAB stands on its written testimony in support of this measure.
Thank you. Next, we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
Great, thank you. Next, we have Hunter Hevlin, Hawaii Farmers Union.
Farmers Union stands on its testimony and support.
Great, thank you. Next, we have Angela Young from CARES on Zoom, not present. Okay, that's all I have. We sure to testify in person or online. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions?
I'm sorry,
Oh,
I'm such a problem. Rob Hoff from Invasive Species Council.
Morning.
Morning. So I'm guessing that there's a prohibition on fine mesh nets because of the throw net.
Correct.
Possibility. Would this kind of a blanket law allow for that proliferation of illegal throw net, or are these pretty fine insect nets for CRB, like specific to that trade? I mean, I don't have a sense of like, are they sold in coils, or are you buying a throw net and you're cutting off the weights and putting it in your coconut tree? Like,
So yes, these nets could potentially be used that way, but because of the way they would be regulated by Department of Ag for this specific purpose, our Division of Aquatics didn't have any concerns. My understanding is that that ban for fishing will still be in effect and enforced.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to the next measure. Next up, we have House Bill 1832 relating to aquaculture. It requires establishment of a biological aquatic risk-based framework for assessment and approval of aquatic livestock importation and movement. Authorizes the Division of Animal Industry of the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity to adopt rules in species risk categorization, tiered biocontainment standards, per arrival disease testing, and interagency coordination procedures. Establishes an interagency working group, requires development of species-specific risk matrices, interagency working group coordination with automatic permit approval timelines and performance accountability. Establishes an implementation timeline, appropriates monies. First up to testify, we have Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Thank you, Chair. DAB stands on its written testimony in strong support of this measure. Here for any questions.
Thank you. Next we have Brian Nielsen, Department of Land and Natural Resources. Present. And next we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
Great, thank you. That's all I have. We registered to testify in person or online on this measure. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, any questions? I have a question for Dab.
Jim.
Thanks, Chair. My question is, in testimony, there was a concern brought up about folks who already have an existing permit. So my question is, how would this new framework impact people already holding a permit for aquaculture uses?
I don't think it impacts them, but let me call up Todd. It does not.
So they'd be grandfathered in?
Right, Todd Lowe, Department of Agriculture, Aquaculture Development. Yeah, the idea would be that the existing permits would be grandfathered in. We're not going backwards. This is more forward.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I have one more question related to that. Sorry.
No.
On that same line of thinking, and not being familiar with the old permit regime compared to the new one, not knowing the nuances between the two, do you foresee any issues, you know, if an existing legacy permit holder is doing a species and a new player comes in doing the same species, is there gonna be a competitive advantage because they have less regulatory oversight because of the newer permit or compared to the old permit? You see what I'm getting at? I just trying to see if are we creating an unfair marketplace between our aquaculture producers?
Yeah, I don't foresee that. I think we'd have to take things in a case-by-case basis. You know, permits have to be renewed, so eventually everybody would be going back to I guess we call this the new system or the revised system. So there might be some lag in the timing. But I think we'd have to look at it case by case and see. We want to be as fair as we can.
Okay, so there could be some latitude from the administrative
Yeah,
level to recognize if it's some unforeseen.
Right, this system is really going to be designed to help grow ag, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
we
no,
want
understood.
to lean forward on things.
Yeah, thank you.
See no further questions. Let's move on to the next measure. Summary of House Bill 2015 relating to coffee labeling. Clarifies the labeling and advertising requirements for coffee that is grown and processed in the state. Defines regional origin. First up, we have to testify is Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity.
Thank you, Chair. DAB stands in support of this measure. Here for any questions.
Right. Also had testimony from Richard Cohen from DAB. Okay. On Zoom.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm here just to assist the chair to answer any questions regarding the bill, and we stand in support of this bill, which would help clarify the enforcement necessary from the Measurement Standards Branch. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau is done on its written testimony in support.
Thank you. And next we have Suzanne Schreiner, Kona Coffee Farmers Association on Zoom. Not present. Okay, that's all I have registered to testify in person on Zoom. Is there anyone else wishing? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Hunter Evelyn on behalf of Hawaii Farmers Union. We testify in support of this measure. It's an important housekeeping to clarify some of the provisions that were hard fought over recent years to ensure that there is effective labeling, and which is critical to both industry and consumer protection. I think we would stand in support of the amendment that Suzanne Schreiner put forward as well.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Seeing none, okay, let's move on to our last measure. So we have House Bill 2152 relating to dog attacks. Clarifies owner liability and increases penalties and enforcement mechanisms for dog attacks on livestock. First up, we have to testify is Nicole Galassi, Hawaii Cattlemen's Council.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Nicole Galassi on behalf of the Hawaii Cattlemen's Council. We support this measure to clarify owner liability and increase the penalties in situations when dogs are attacking livestock. In every county, we have incidents of dogs attacking livestock. This is problematic on many levels. It shows the prevalence of wild dogs as well as domestic dogs whose owners do not keep them under control. In either case, the dogs attacking livestock are obviously detrimental to the sheep and cattle that the rancher cares for, but it's also a safety issue for our humans. When unchecked, the dogs can be aggressive, and in all cases that I've heard, the livestock were killed for sport, not for a food source. This is why so many can be killed at once. And even if the animals are not killed, they're either injured, die later, or they become skittish and nervous, which is something that livestock producers aim to avoid when practicing low-stress animal handling. So we thank you for introducing this bill and bring it to a hearing. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next we have Stephanie Kendrick, Hawaiian Humane Society.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Hawaiian Humane submitted testimony in opposition to this measure, but I want to really be clear that we support the intent of protecting livestock from these kinds of attacks. We've offered the committee some amendments that would address our issues with dogs being falsely accused. For example, there's a provision that would allow dogs not immediately and obviously engaged in an attack to be destroyed if the owner thought that they may have been engaged in a prior attack. We have a real problem with that. We are animal law enforcement, so we see that a lot of dogs look alike, and it takes some time and process to figure out what dogs might actually be involved in an incident like this. But we are absolutely in support of the intent of this measure, and we hope the committee will consider our amendments so that we can be fully in support. I also wanted to really acknowledge the testimony by Kala Farms, which was recently involved in a terrible incident where 11 of their goats were killed by a single dog, which is mind-boggling. Their thoughtful testimony suggesting an expedited process for hearing dangerous dog cases is something that we would wholeheartedly support. We are involved in trying to prosecute these cases on a regular basis, and the delays are very frustrating to the community and to our officers. So if the committee and the legal minds have an idea for ways that we can do that and expedite an actual judicial process, that's something we would be very interested in discussing and supporting. I will also point out that there's a Senate bill coming later today that will be heard that deals with hunting dogs and prohibiting their training to attack animals. The Kaala Farms case is still very much under investigation, but at least in most of the cases of these kinds of attacks prosecuted on Oahu, it has turned out to be hunting dogs who were involved, and specifically hunting dogs who've been trained to attack prey. So if we can get that Senate bill over to you guys, we're hoping that that would have some interest and support from the committee as well. Thank you for the time to testify, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Next we have Lynn Yartsoff, Hawaii Sheep and Goat Association on Zoom.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and member of the committee. I had submitted written testimony. It stands. I am prepared to answer any questions. I did play a role in the early drafting of this proposed statute, so I would gladly answer questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Farm Bureau will stand on its written testimony in support.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, that's all I have who registered to testify in person or on Zoom. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure?
Thank you, Chair. Hawaii Farmers Union just offer some comments. We note that this builds upon the definition recently adopted of a habitual agricultural crime perpetrator. Testimony when those measures that put that into our statute were being put forward by public defenders' offices, highlighted the questionable nature of implementation and potentially harsh penalties associated with that. And while as somebody who's lost my own livestock to dogs over the years, we view it as critical to support and protect agricultural operations, but would wonder if there are other mechanisms to do so, particularly as jurisprudence may be yet to be seen on that classification.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Questions? Seeing none, we're gonna recess to get ready for a decision. Take a short recess. Okay, we're reconvening our 9:30 agenda for the Committee on Agriculture and Food Systems for decision making. So first up, we have House Bill 1602 relating to agriculture. Recommendation of the chair is we're gonna pass out a House Draft 1 and we're just going to effect the date to July 1, 2000. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Thank you, Chair. Voting on HB 1602, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendments, Chair and Vice Chair voting aye, and noting the excused absence of Representative Lowen and Representative.
Roll call. You have to roll call. You have to roll call.
Okay. Representative Kahalo,
Aye.
thank you. Noting the excused absence of Representative.
You have to do it for everybody. You have to call everybody. You have to call.
She's next. Representative Peruso,
Aye.
and noting the excused absence of Representative Quinlan. Representative Matsumoto.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next, we have House Bill 2246 relating to agricultural grant administration. Recommendation of the chair is to pass out a House Draft 1. So for the annual report in paragraph B, we're going to put that the report is due 20 days prior to the convening of each regular session. We're also gonna adopt the language provided by DAB for the appropriation. And we're going to change the effective date to July 1, 2000, and technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Thank you, Chair. Voting on HB 2246, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. And noting the excused absences of Representative Lowen and Quinlan for both this vote and all remaining votes unless there's a change. Is there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next up, we have House Bill 1707 relating to agriculture. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1. So on page 3, line 12 for startups and small scale farmers, just gonna change the word demonstrating to require proof of commercial intent. And then the effective date to July 1, 2000. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Thank you, Chair. Voting on HB 1707, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Is there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, your measure is adopted.
Thank you. Next, we have House Bill 2216 relating to agricultural loans. Commission the chair is to pass out House Draft 1. It's going to effective date to July 1, 2000. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, sure.
Thank you. Voting on HB 2216, Chair's recommendation passed with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Is there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, your measure is adopted.
Thank you. Next, we have House Bill 2594 relating to agriculture. Recommendation of the chair is to pass out House Draft 1. So on page 2, lines 14, we're going to change the due date from 2027 to 2028, and that's on page 2, line 14. And then we're going to effective date to July 1, 3000. Any questions, comments, or concerns, members? Seeing none, sure.
Okay, voting on HB 2594, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Is there any reservations or nay? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next, we have House Bill 2595 relating to regional agriculture and food production. The recommendation of the chair is to pass on House Draft 1. We're going to effective date to July 1, 3000. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Voting on HB 2595, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Are there any nays or reservations? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up, we have 2155 relating to agricultural statistics. Recommendation of the chair is to pass on House Draft 1, and we're going to the effective date to July 1, 3000. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for vote.
Thank you, Chair. Voting on HB 2155. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Is there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up, we have House Bill 2113 relating to natural resources. Recommendation is to pass out House Draft 1, so we're gonna take the recommendation by DAB and change the expending agency to the Department of Transportation. Blank out the appropriation and put the amount in the committee report and effective date to July 1, 3000. Questions, comments, or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for vote.
Okay, voting on HB 2113. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Are there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Alright, thank you. Next, we have House Bill 2207 relating to invasive species. So the recommendation of the chair is to pass out House Draft 1. We are going to take the recommended language from the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity in their testimony referencing applicable federal and state laws and the effective date to July 1, 3000, and technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Voting on HB 2207. Chair's recommendation would pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Are there any reservations or nay votes? Seeing none, Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next, we have House Bill 1832 relating to aquaculture. So the recommendation of the chair is to pass out a House Draft 1. So on page 9, lines 7 through 9, we're going to put in a deadline of 20 days prior to the convening of each regular session. We're going to blank out the appropriation and insert that amount into the committee report and the effective date to July 1, 3000. Any questions, comments, or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, voting on HB 1832. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Is there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. Next, we have House Bill 2015 relating to coffee labeling. The recommendation of the chair is we're going to pass out a House Draft 1. We're going to take the recommended amendments by the Kona Coffee Association, and we're going to change the "and" on page 4, line 12, and page 5, line 1 back to "or," and change the effective date to July 1, 3000. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, voting on HB 2015. Chair's recommendation is to pass with the amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Are there any reservations or nays? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. And our final bill, House Bill 2152 relating to dog attacks. Okay, so the recommendation of the chair, we're going to pass out House Draft 1. First, we're going to add clarifying language to the amendments in 14274 Section 3 that the land and premises pertains only to the agricultural district classified under Chapter 205. So we're really trying to kind of focus this on where the issue is and not in residential areas where maybe a dog might get loose inside chasing someone's chickens. We're really just looking at this from the agricultural perspective. So I want to thank Vice Chair for working on this bill. Next, we're going to remove the phrase in paragraph 1, persistently pursuing or harassing, and then remove the provisions in paragraph 2 on page 4, lines 1 through 4. We're going to change the effective date to July 1, 3000 for further discussion. And I would like to note in the committee report the issues raised by the Hawaii Insurance Council on the liability provisions, and just have the next committee consider their testimony on those issues. Any questions, comments, or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, voting on HB 2152. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Are there any nays or reservations? Seeing none. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. We are adjourned.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, February 11th, 11:30 a.m. We are in conference room 325. We're here with the Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection for decision-making on two measures that were previously heard. First up, we have House Bill 1983 relating to natural resources. Really appreciate the intent behind this bill. I think we learned a lot by having a hearing and reading the testimony that was submitted, and need to come back and work on this prior to next session and maybe come back with a better proposal. But for the time being, I'm gonna defer this measure. And then moving on to House Bill 1928 relating to deposit beverage container recycling. This is the bill that creates a producer responsibility system for our deposit beverage container recycling program. Okay, I'm getting like an allergy. There's a number of amendments to this bill, so I'll just start reading through them. First of all, we're gonna clarify some of the definitions, including the definition of dealer, de minimis producer, reverse vending machine, and deposit beverage container. We're gonna add a new section, including some of the language from the current section 342GQ that will establish redemption rate targets and convenience standards in statute that producers are responsible for meeting. We will clarify that each producer must register with the state and be responsible to submit a plan, or may create a PRO themselves or with other producers for the purposes of meeting the targets laid out in statute. We will, for the language relating to the deposit initiation, we're gonna revert back to language more similar to what's in existing statute, as this is more clear. We will add to the PRO plan requirement for the plan from the PROs to state how it will meet or exceed convenience standards and redemption targets that we're gonna define in the new section we're creating, and also how it will prevent fraud and ensure compliance. And then we will add to the departmental approval criteria whether the plan sufficiently addresses internal procedures and actions to prevent fraud, and address and report noncompliance, and whether the plans to meet the targets and convenience standards are adequate. We will add a new section for enforcement, add a new section for third-party audits. We will add a blank date to clarify that the existing law would not be repealed upon the effective date of the bill. So we'll leave that blank for now, but we need to do work on a transition plan so that we have a new plan in place before existing law is repealed. We will add a provision that once a program is established, some amount of the special fund balance should be transferred to the PRO for unredeemed containers and for program operation and improvement, and a number of technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. We will note in the committee report specifically that we know there's a lot of work still needed on several elements of this bill, especially in figuring out the transition plan and the timing of all the steps that need to happen to achieve this transition. And we will defect the date to the year 3000 and move this forward for further consideration. Members, any discussion?
Thank you for your work on this.
Oh, thank you. All right, seeing no discussion, Vice Chair.
On House Bill 1928, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Chun.
Aye.
Representative Kahaloa.
Aye.
Representative Kush.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan is excused. Representative Matsumoto.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation has been adopted.
All right, and we are adjourned.